Hello and welcome to Garage Rock, the podcast mini Ep-ISOdes. My name is Cam, and joining me over the telephone yet again because of restrictions is Uncle Steve Aarons. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm very good, thank you, Uncle Cameron Banfield. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. I can't believe we're still doing this at the moment, but hey, let's just enjoy it and take it for what it is.
Exactly. I mean, we were going to do this down on the beach because the weather was so fine, but we decided no, we'll just do this over the phone like usual.
Yeah, I know. Do you reckon we're going to need some sort of life coaching, getting back into the real world after being in isolation away from everyone for so long that we're not going to know how to do what used to be normal life?
But possibly. To be honest, I think you could probably just do with a life coach regardless. But is there anything in particular that you're worried about, that you won't be able to function as a normal human being anymore?
Being around people? No, I'm not too bad because I'm one of the lucky ones that get to go to work every day and be around my mates at work. So I'll be fine. But I'll tell you what, if you did want a life coach, the best thing you could possibly do is ask Brett Ratton, the coach for St Kilda Football Club, who has led them into the finals. And not only have they got into the finals, they've won their first final, Steve. You must be on cloud nine.
Oh, I am absolutely ecstatic. This is, brilliant. I mean, this is a music podcast. We won't harp on it too long, but how about those mighty Saints?
Too good. Even though they gave us a heart attack in the last quarter.
Very much.
Being such a close game there, but it's such a good feeling seeing your team win like that, isn't it?
Absolutely, and just over the moon with how they've gone this season. And we've got the Tigers in the semi-finals, and look, it's probably a bit of an uphill battle, that one, but I guess we'll see. But I mean, how about you? You've got your son. This is his first ever taste of finals because I mean, we haven't played finals for like 9 years.
Oh, he was so stoked. He was so stoked when we got in the finals, and then obviously really happy when they won the final. There were tears. I actually got a little video of him when we won the game to get in the finals, and he was very excited. And you hear my beautiful daughter in the background just say, "I'm going to bed."
Didn't really care.
She's not as much into the football as we are now, but either was I. Apart from the juniors, I love the footy, but now my son's got me back into it, and it's a great family thing, even though the daughter not so much. And you were lucky enough to watch it with your dad.
Yes. I had my one. What do they call it? The nomination. I nominated my dad to come over.
It's your bubble partner.
My bubble partner, my singles bubble partner. To come over and watch. But I mean, it's, I was kind of hoping that I'd nominate someone from Tinder, but alas, no luck on that front. So it had to be the old man come around to watch that. Tinder is fucked, by the way. I should admit, I mean, you are married, and you've been married in the pre-Tinder generation, so you've never had to deal with this kind of crap.
Tinder was never a thing, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was chatting to someone the other day, and I was just like, okay, here we go, this, good match. We've got a few things in common and chatting away, and I was like, oh, what are you up to? And she's like, oh, I'm just going for a bit of a walk. And I was like, oh, cool, I was going to go for a walk after I finished doing some housework. And then she replied to me, are you implying that I don't do any housework? No.
That's exactly what you just said.
Exactly. And so that pretty much ended the conversation. So that's it for Tinder. No luck with that. But we did have a lot of luck, the two of us, with our Garage Rock Podcast English Open, Cam.
Yes. Well, no real surprises who won. There's a few surprises throughout the voting system. But for those that don't know, the Beatles did come through with the goods. Yep. And basically, Steve, if they didn't win, I just quit music.
You and me both, mate. It was no surprise there, but I mean, it was the Beatles versus Led Zeppelin in the final, and the Beatles got the job done in the end.
Yeah, because you always wonder, because it obviously depends who votes. Like, there's a lot of obviously Led Zeppelin and Queen fans out there.
Yep.
Like either of those bands could have got up, but yeah, I'm glad my beloved Beatles made it through.
Oh, lovely. And so we had Powderfinger win the Australian. We had Foo Fighters win American. Now Beatles have won the English Open. So we're going to have to do another one for the rest of the world, Cam.
Yes. Well, I think that might be the go, mate. Sounds like a great idea.
Fantastic. So, yeah, once again, thank you everyone who voted. And, we look forward to doing the next one. But, Cam, I believe you've got something you want to talk about with Scott Owen from The Living End.
Oh, yes. Speaking of my beloved bands, The Living End, you know how much I'm a massive fan, always have been.
Oh, yeah, they'd have to be probably your favourite Australian band.
Oh, exactly. Well, everyone knows Scott Owen. If you don't know him by name, you know him by the guy that plays the massive double bass in The Living End. And he spins it around and he stands on it and he's an absolute legend. Well, turns out he's been doing a bit of artwork.
Okay.
He's been doing mandala drawings. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, there's those kind of circle patterns or different patterns.
That's it. It's sort of like a meditative practice to clear the mind doing this artwork. Well, good old Uncle Scott Owen has done a few over the years, and he's decided to sell limited prints of them.
Okay.
And I messaged him and asked him if there was any available, and it turns out there was. So I picked one out. So this one is one out of 50 just made and signed by him. So now I've received that in the mail the other day.
Oh, fantastic.
And I just need to frame it, and that just means a lot to me because obviously, my favourite Australian band.
Yeah.
My first interview I ever did when I was 17 or 18.
Yeah.
And he's just an all-round bloody legend. So that'll be hanging on my wall. Once I get it framed, I'll put a picture of it up on our socials so you can see it. So, no, it means a lot to me. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it looks good as well?
Oh, it looks brilliant. Like, it's unbelievable. I don't know how the hell they do these things, but it's just something a bit different as well. Like, Steve, you and I both have a bit of music memorabilia hanging up and things like that. And I've got signed Living End CDs, but this is just something different that means a few things. So, I'm excited to have that on my wall.
Brilliant. It's a bit more personal, you think?
Ah, definitely. But you've got a lot of music memorabilia. What would be your favourite thing? Like, you've got Foo Fighters stuff.
Yeah. I've got a big Nirvana print with Kurt Cobain on it, and it's got all of the albums. The Foo Fighters' last 4 shows in Melbourne, they've got these narrow prints. They're sort of tall prints and thin but tall. There's probably a proper word for that, but I'm going with thin but tall. And yeah, they're the screen printed ones from the last 4 Melbourne shows, and I've got each of those. So to have the 4 of those together, that's pretty cool, and it reminds me of the concert. So I like that. That's
great, and for when people are allowed to come over or whatever, it's a conversation starter too, isn't it, Steve? Like, say you've got one of your Tinder dates coming over and they happen to be a Nirvana fan or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation starter. Break the ice, if you will, Steve.
Exactly. That's why I'll probably move the Nirvana one to my bedroom and sort of see how that one sort of goes from there.
We'll just have to come as you are. But, Steve, moving on. We've got some AC/DC news.
Well, they're being rock teasers at the moment. They're sort of teasing something is coming. It looks like they're going to be releasing a new album called Power Up. They've kind of got the hashtag Power Up going on at the moment, and they're sort of just putting bits and pieces out there on social media. So it looks like we've got some new AC/DC music coming our way very soon.
Oh, I suppose if you want to have a preview, just listen to any of their other CDs.
Good point.
Nah, good on him.
But it's actually interesting because they've got Brian Johnson back, who, he left the band after he was having some difficulties with his hearing, and then Axl Rose took over for a while.
Yeah.
So Brian Johnson's back, and also Phil Rudd, who was been their drummer for several years, and then the band kind of kicked him out because he was up on drugs charges in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so he went on and he did his own band, and he was kind of like flogging that instead. And of course, Malcolm Young is no longer longer a part of the band because he passed away several years ago. But apparently they've got some of his guitar tracks that they've kind of incorporated into the new album as well. So Malcolm's still going to have a presence on the new record.
Oh, as Friends of Ron would say, forever Malcolm Young.
Forever Malcolm Young.
Steve, I don't know what it is at the moment, but it must be some sort of full moon or something like that. But there seems to be a lot of crazy people out at the moment. And you were saying you've noticed that too?
Yeah, walking the streets of Brighton, there have been a few crazy people I've noticed around. Actually, I was on the news the other night. I was sort of waiting for the footy to start, and it came up. It was like the news break, and they're saying, all these things like, Trump having COVID and, the case numbers and things like that. And then they're like, and Karen from Brighton is leaving Victoria. I'm like, how is that newsworthy? How is that on the news?
Oh, of all things, like there's so many important things happening at the moment, and that makes the news.
Yeah, well, why not? I mean, I've noticed a few crazy people around Brighton just walking the streets because it is quite boring walking the streets of Brighton, as Karen said. Two examples come to mind. The other day I was walking and walking towards me were this... I'd say mother and daughter. The daughter's probably about late teens, early 20s, and the mother's probably, the mother age of someone who's in their 20s, I suppose. And they're holding hands and walking towards us. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And there was this bloke who was standing next to me, and he was walking alongside me. And he's looked at this mother and daughter holding hands and gone, faggots. Now, I mean... And just kept walking, and I didn't know what to say. The mother and daughter, I'm assuming they just kind of like looked at him, and then they kept walking, and it was sort of this thing that just didn't happen. But I'm pretty sure it did happen.
That is so weird on so many levels.
Yeah. But there was another example. I was walking behind this woman who had a dog. She would have been in her 60s or so, older lady with a dog, and coming in the other direction was this younger guy, and he had his dog, smaller dog, and they're both pretty small dogs, and they've started sniffing each other, and so the woman has pulled out what looked like some, I don't know, deodorant or something like that, and sprayed it on the other man's dog. And also, what's going on? And the guy's going, why are you spraying my dog? What are you doing? And she's just like, oh, my dog gets, he likes to like sniff things. So once I spray them, he doesn't sniff them again, whether it be trees or postbox or things like that. So I've sprayed your dog so he won't, my dog won't sniff him again.
Does she realise that it's a pretty well known fact that dogs like to sniff things purely for their sanity?
I've got no idea what is going on in this woman's mind, but neither does the guy who was walking towards me. But I kind of that I've never seen that a woman spray another person's dog to stop their dog from sniffing it. So the crazies are out, man. The crazies are out. Any sort of interaction with people, they're just, doing weird shit. What about you? You've had a few crazies at work?
Well, mate, drive up the road a little bit from where you are in Brighton to St Kilda, and things escalate.
Yes, very much.
Especially in old, lovely Ackland Street in St Kilda. I got called out to a job there the other night, and like we're smack bang in the middle of St Kilda, Ackland Street there, and it was probably midnight, 1 a.m, or something like that, and we got called to this pole making a loud noise. We got to the location, and there was this clearly homeless dude there who was ratty looking, but not too bad. He had lost it. He looked a bit like, actually, he looked a lot like Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin.
Right. Are we talking original Jimmy Page or kind of like now Jimmy Page?
I'd say now Jimmy Page.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Probably around the same age, I'd guess.
Maybe it is Jimmy Page.
Maybe it is, but he came up to me and started talking like literally. It's like he'd got the lyrics from a Led Zeppelin album and started talking them backwards.
Oh, okay.
Like nothing made sense. Like I can't even I can't even impersonate it because I don't even know what he said.
So he was speaking in tongues, perhaps?
It was, yeah. It was the words made sense, but nothing joined up. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So we went into one of the trucks and was starting to do the paperwork, and another homeless woman rocked up, and she was setting up camp for the night, which is fine, in her little sleeping bag and all that. And then another one rocked up and was talking to the other one setting up camp, and that was all good. And so the third one that rocked up, she was crazy. She was violent. She came up to the front of the truck and basically stared into my soul. And I was looking at her, and we had the truck locked and everything like that, the windows up, and she was looking at us, shouting, punching the truck, and looking at us in our eyes, and her eyes were gone. Like, she was on a whole different level, shouting out stuff like, "Where's my money?" Blah, 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 all this.
Did you have her money?
No, hadn't even spoken to her or what was going on. And so she was standing in front of the truck, and we just wanted to leave. So I thought, what do we do? Do we call the cops? Do we hold down the horn and get rid of her? But it turns out she stepped to the side and kept yelling and screaming at us, and then we just drove off. So that was an experience, Steve.
Yeah.
The world's gone mental. I mean, that kind of stuff happens in St Kilda all the time. But
I was going to say, actually, the last time I was on Ackland Street, a mate of mine had a gig, and I was sort of like waiting out the front to meet some mates. And there was this guy, and he was in a like white tank top, and he was just, really just pissed off. He's just like, "Oh man, fuck man!" And his mates come up to him. He's just like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh man, someone nicked me bike. And his mate's like, "Oh, which bike?" He's like, "Oh, the one I stole last week. Someone's fucking nicked me bike." Hang on, you stole a bike, and now someone has stolen it off you. What are you complaining about?
The world works in funny ways, doesn't it, Steve?
It's brilliant. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know if he ever found his bike. Probably stole another one. But anyway, I digress.
Well, the funny thing was, because I was in the truck, my van was parked behind the truck, so we left my work van there, and waited for her to go before I could go back and get it. And she finally left, and I went back to the van, and I had some food and some bottles of water. I left the now asleep homeless person on the footpath. I left them some food and water, so I'm hoping that good karma goes out into the world.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, or she might have picked it up and thrown it at someone else. Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, I think that we've crapped on enough to get another mini Ep-ISOde out there. Any final thoughts for you, Cam?
Oh, what a big week it has been for music that we're talking about our crazy experiences in life. No, we'll get back into it, Steve. We'll get back out there.
Exactly.
There'll be more to talk about, and what a big week it has been in football.
Exactly. Well, absolutely. But anyway, for those of you listening, you can check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Garage Rock Podcast. And, of course, hit us up on our email, which is garagerockpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to send through any new music, we always love hearing it, and we'll be featuring new music again once we get our show proper up and running again for our 50th episode, Cam.
Chair with shit all over it, as in shit chair.
I haven't heard you do that one before. Actually, before we do go, my brother did give me a couple of dad jokes.
Oh.
Do we want to squeeze out a couple of dad jokes before we wrap this up?
Yeah. Actually, someone wrote in one. I can't remember if I said it or not.
Okay.
It was supposed to be for our live show, but obviously that hasn't gone ahead just yet. But Steve,
yep,
take it away.
Okay. What is the name of Ben 10's dad?
Ben 10's dad, Ben 9?
Glenn 20. You know what a slug is?
A slug, yeah.
Yeah, it's a snail that lost the house in the divorce. One last one, here we go. Where do melons go on holiday?
I don't know, Steve. Where do melons go on holiday?
To John Cougar Melon Camp.
Oh, fuck.
That was actually a mum joke. My mum did that one, and yeah, that's just great.
Good on you, Mum. Tip Top's the one. Now, Steve, I do have one sent in by Tom, which I wanted to do on our live show, which didn't happen, but this one's gold. I've got to get it out there.
Yep.
Did you know Bruce Lee had a vegan brother?
No, I did not.
Yeah, his name's Brocco Lee.
Jesus, that's as good a note to end the show as any.
You know, it's a good dad joke when you get a Jesus.
I think most of your comments get a from me.
I like that response, and I also like the response. Like, you shouldn't have said that response. I love that.
I prefer that too. We need to get back to doing some of those. But anyway, it is time for us to wrap this up. Thank you to everyone who's listened. We will be, hopefully back sooner rather than later. But for now, I've been Steve.
And I've been Cam.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.